Good afternoon. First, let me introduce my audience. Cody, Rachel, Shelby, Max, and Billy. Most of the people that you pass in the street, mainly teenagers, are suffering from a hidden battle known as depression. 42 million U.S. teens suffer from depression. 714,000 contemplated suicide. Depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide. It's something people don't speak up about. Depression ranks among the top 3 workplace issues, falling behind family crisis and stress. It costs around $70 billion in business medical funds, lost productivity, and other costs. Depression accounts for almost 12 billion in lost workdays each year. There is an additional 11 billion in other costs from decreased productivity to symptoms that lower energy, affect work habits, and cause problems with concentration, memory, and decision making. Depression has a high treatment rate. Up to 80% of those treated for depression showed an improvement in their symptoms, usually within 4 to 6 weeks of starting treatment, which includes medication, psychotherapy, attending support groups, or a combination of all. Despite its high treatment success rate, only 2 out of 3 people do not actively seek or receive proper treatment. These are some of my pills that I currently take. Whenever I was 15, I had started on Lexapro, and after about 3 years, I needed to start something else, and that did not work for me as the side effects were too severe, and I needed to switch over to the medication that I'm on now. It started out as 1 pill, and then I needed to add another one. 50% of unsuccessful treatment is due to unacceptable side effects, financial issues, fears of addiction, and short-term improvements that make people believe that they do not need to continue their medications. I didn't want to rely on my medications my whole life to be happy. I would stop taking my meds after years of being on them and feeling happy, to seeing the same old signs and realizing that I needed my meds. When Andrew Solomon was a child, he remembers hearing the word breakdown. He was a bit confused because his mental state was typically stable and only gradually changed. It took him by surprise when it hit him all at once. He went through a period of losses, and this tough guy status that he had went away. His mental stability dropped more and more. It took a while for things to matter again. The depression slowly faded, but his anxiety arose. Andrew sought help through a psychiatrist who told him pills were not necessary. Avoiding medications brought Andrew so much mental pain and strain that one day he thought that he had suffered from a stroke. It took years of taking medication after medication and having side effects after side effects, but he eventually found one that worked for him. For people with depression, low days still happen, and they will always happen. You have to find ways to overcome them and not let them get the best of you. Andrew said for people who eventually want to stop taking medication, don't expect a diabetic to stop taking insulin, and don't expect a person who has a heart condition to stop taking blood thinners. It's a chronic lifetime disease, and the only responsible thing for you to do is to stick with your medications. Taking medications off and on only make things worse. For people who don't receive treatment, as some people refuse to believe they don't have depression, the consequences can be life or death. 123 Americans commit suicide every day. 2 out of 3 people who commit suicide are depressed at the time of death. For every 2 homicides committed in the U.S., there are 3 suicides. Males are more prone to commit suicide than females. 79% of all U.S. suicides are committed by men. But females experience depression roughly 2 times the rate of men. Females often attempt suicide 3 times as often as men, but sometimes they think about their actions and they seek treatment, or they choose less physical ways of suicide, such as pills, or they just harm themselves instead of fully going through with it. While men typically use, again, 70% of all suicides are attempted with guns. An estimated 250,000 people each year are suicide survivors. People need to be aware of the signs of depression. Most of the signs are in little words, and they are just cries for help. There are people who are willing to help, such as counselors, friends, and family members. There are hotlines, and there are websites, and there are people who you can get a hold of and talk your issues through. Thank you.